With new units coming out every week in Anime Rangers X, it can be kind of confusing to know which units are the best. Well, don't worry, because in this unit, I'm going to be showing you the best tier list for Anime Rangers X, with showcases and other things as well. Now, before you go and skip straight to the end, there's one thing to keep in mind. I do place these units in, like, a range. So if you go to the end and you're like, this unit should be above this one, and they're near each other, it's probably because they're in, like, the same range. Because it depends on what you're doing, right? But with that being said, let's get straight into the tier list. Alright, so first of all, we have the ones that are already ranked. I'm not going to go over these too crazy and in-depth like I will the other ones, but I will explain. So we'll start off with trash. Flame Captain honestly just isn't worth bringing. Not really a good passive. Super difficult to get, and damage really isn't that there. Beginner, these are units that are very beginner friendly. Like Diavolo, all you have to do is pull him off banner. He's pretty good. And then Ken Kaneki as well, banner. He's a little difficult to evo, but he can carry you through the entire story. Madara as well, super easy to get and can carry you through most of the story. Then mid and outdated, we just have mid units like Last Survivors mid, Black Reapers mid, Uryu, like they're all mid, but I'll explain some of the ones that maybe, like these ones are obvious, everybody knows why they're mid. Low-key, they could move to trash, and they might soon. But then we have Sid. Sid just has a nuke that's not even that good, and that's about it. His damage isn't even that good anymore either. They'll probably move down. A lot of these are going to move down, because you can see the top is pretty stacked, which means some stuff's got to ship. Next we have Gyutaru, who is just the definition outdated at this point. Was a very meta unit for a while, but just doesn't do the damage. And then we have Giorno, still a decent support, but the thing is there's just better supports. And then you have White Reaper, who used to be the top of DPS in this game, but obviously he's super old now, so he just doesn't do that. Then we have good, we have Unohana, very good, paired up with units who do well with DOT. However, there's just units that do a lot more damage and are way better at this point. Honestly, we can move her to mid and outdated. You can keep her good if you want. She's like going to be somewhere in that range, right? But the reason I am moving her down is because of how many better options there are. Also, she's pretty expensive. Now, you do get her for free, which is nice as a new player, so that one's pretty good. Next, we have Cybernetic Fusion, who does decent damage, but his passive's not crazy. Fingernail Saint, now a lot of people are going to be like, how's he not top, blah, 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 whatever. This is based on no gears, so I know I'm going to have to explain it to someone who skipped ahead in the video. They're going to be like, oh, why is Johnny not in meta? Because without the gears, he's not that meta. With the correct gears and souls, he's absolutely meta, but we're not going off that. We're just going off the unit itself. Next, we have Makima, who's pretty solid, just pretty difficult conditions. Also, we have Akuma here, who I am going to change. I still haven't got the fall units, by the way. I cannot get them. I don't know why, but Akuma is definitely meta. Someone gave me more details about their damage and stuff. Akuma is very, very strong. I just was not familiar with what their numbers look like, and they filled me in. Very good unit. And then we have Pride, who is a pretty good unit still. He still does a lot of damage, still has a lot of health, but there are just better options now. And then we have Ice General, who's a good support. Poochie, who's also a good support. The Drink, who is just decent overall. Thunder Goddess, who is very good for challenges. However, I do think there's better now. There's units that are way faster and way more worth running. I still would bring her in the challenges, but I'm not going to put her much higher just because that's all she's really useful for. Next, we have Virtual Swordswoman, just solid damage, pretty good passive. The Professor, I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. I believe his passive is pretty good. Next, we have Berserker, who does decent damage, has an okay passive, and then Baby's kind of the same thing. Now we can get into the units I'm going to showcase and stuff. So first, we'll start with Ichigo, which coincidentally, I don't have, which sucks, but Ichigo is a meta DPS dealer. He's very, very good. But now we can move on to Igris. So the thing I love the most about Igris is he is relatively cheap. And as you can see here, he did get a buff. That's why the tier list is coming out today, because they did buff and change a lot of units, so I didn't want to do it early. As you can see, his stats here are pretty solid, but they do get better when a certain unit is on the field. You can pause and read all this if you want, but I would just pretty much give you the rundown. So basically, once he hits with the ability, he stuns and does 50% of the ability damage, which his is like, what, it was like 1.2 million or something. So that's 600k. That's very, very good. And then for every 25% HP loss, you gain 10% damage buff at 50%. This still makes no sense to me, because that would mean you would have to lose 25% HP 5 times, which would require you to heal. And this unit does not heal on its own, so you would need a unit. Oh, wait, never mind. I lied. It does heal on its own. Okay, I apologize. So it is possible to get that. Before, I don't believe it was, but now it is, so that's fine. But it gets a barrier as well when it dies, and then it'll heal it. But I'm not sure if it can still get to 50%. I don't know if that's possible, to be honest, to get the 50% damage buff. I don't know. But overall, this unit is pretty good. And yeah, they removed the passive where he kind of needed to be with Sun Jin Woo. So yeah, he's a pretty decent unit, though. So for that, gosh, Igris is so tough. I personally, he's probably going to go into meta, but I don't really believe he's that good. I think there's way better options. I'm going to be honest. I still probably wouldn't bring him, but you can consider him meta, I would say. Next, we have Ayanokoji, who I don't have, but he is still meta. His passive is very solid. I do apologize, I don't have that. We have Falcon of Darkness, another one, just the worst of the two Falcons of Darkness. Then we have Rascal. Now, this is a unit I actually have, but I don't have them up. You can pause and read all this if you want. They are actually pretty good. I'm not going to lie. This is their passive, but yeah, that's way too much for me to read. I'm going to be honest. They're also a meta unit. I don't believe their damage is that high. I could be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure their damage is not that high. Again, I could be wrong because I don't have them up. I don't really use them at all. But next we have Chainsaw Man. All right, so now we have Denji. Now, here's a unit. You can see his stats, and you may think, oh, they're not that great. You can see his passive. His passive's actually pretty solid, I'm not going to lie, because a lot of units do DOT, and it's pretty good. But there's one stat that makes him incredibly valuable, and that's his speed. He is the #1 challenge destroyer by far, and I think he'll be that for a while, because he's basically Yoruichi, but on steroids. So, yeah, he's the best challenge clear for sure. He's also incredibly cheap, which means it's pretty easy to use him to, like, get bait. So that's why I'm going to put him a little bit higher, because although it's not really necessary for a lot of things, sometimes when you have to stall, he is the best staller as well. So although I don't really find you need to do that as much anymore, he is by far the best staller as well. So he's going to go a little bit higher in meta. Next, we have Virtual Sniper. Okay, so I don't know what's going on. The servers were bugging, but that's besides the point. We're in here. We have Virtual Sniper. As you can see, the numbers are decent, and you can look at the passive. They also have a ultimate as well, which is pretty good. Overall, they are a pretty solid unit. They're still meta, although they're not like anything crazy. I think their passive is also one that's a little weird to activate. The crits are very nice and the cooldown's very nice, but look, like units, like for example, she's going to push forward and the units are going to get close, and the damage is going to get less, the cooldown's going to get less. So it's just a finicky ability. Overall though, still a decent unit. So Virtual Sniper, I'm probably going to put her in meta, but I think she's going to start falling off because there's just no reason to bring her, I'm going to be honest. Now, with certain souls and stuff equipped, she's pretty strong, I'm not going to lie, but we're not including that, right? So next we have Soul King. Okay, so with Soul King, he received a buff at some point, making him faster. I don't know when. That was a little while ago. But if you remember, he used to be slow. As you can see, his numbers are decent, not really up to standard. He has an ultimate there, and he has this passive here, which I believe low-key got nerfed. Maybe it's buffed. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I mean, can you still consider him meta with how expensive he is? Yeah, I mean, I would say so. He's still a meta unit. It's just, he is falling off for sure. So Aizen, I would still say is meta. I'd probably put him behind Chainsaw Devil. Next we have Dio, who I don't have. Dio is basically a little bit better Aizen with a better ability. And then we have the Falcon of Darkness, who I don't have as well. But he is incredibly strong, so he's going to go at the top for now. Does a lot of damage. As you can see, super expensive though, but very, very good. And next we have Sid, and oh boy. Sorry, I apologize. Not Sid. I meant to say Sung Jin Woo. But let me show you what he can do. Alright, so we have Sung Jin Woo here now, and I'm going to be honest, this is by far the best unit in the game. Look at those numbers. That alone puts him at #1, and then this is passive. Basically, his passive, every time he kills something, summons shadows, and every time one of those shadows die, which is very easy, he gets buffed. This unit's absolutely insane. Super, super, super good. I mean, there's nothing else. He's the best unit in the game. All right, next we have Judo Priest, who I also don't have, but he seems to be a pretty solid unit. He probably goes, like, behind... I don't know. I don't remember his passive off the top of my head, but I remember his damage numbers being pretty decent, so I'll probably put him there. I do apologize. I just can't get those fall units no matter what. I've been grinding it and grinding it. I can't get them. Next, we have the Dancer. Now, this is a unit I'm not sure how good they will be, because before they got buffed today, they were actually terrible. They were one of the worst units in the game. In my, like, honestly, they were. I wouldn't even go for them as a beginner. That's how bad they were. The passive was terrible as well. Let's see if anything's changed. Okay, so now the damage is a little bit better. Still not crazy. The ability is not crazy. Super slow. Oh, but the passive is already going to be way better. I could tell. If the unit does not trigger a crit, decrease SPA by 1%. Okay, that's okay, I guess. If it does crit, ability cooldown, same thing, okay. Each time this unit uses their ability, inflict cut. Okay. And when an ally lands an ability, this unit deals. And when an ally lands an ability within this does 100% of its ability damage to the target. So what would that be? 100. Oh, that's gonna be 280k. That's not great, but it's not bad. Honestly, she can go like in good behind guts. You could probably put her anywhere at the top of good. Maybe low tier meta. I wouldn't put her there though. She seems pretty bad in my opinion. Now, if you get Sovereign and get her level 100, that ability damage, that's going to be good. But I don't see how that's worth it. I'm gonna be honest. When you're gonna have units that can do that damage all the time, that might be doing like 1,000,000 damage, but that's going to be not every. I don't know. I just feel like that's not worth to bring her. Her passive requires too much. I don't know. I don't think she's that great. Next, we have Gogeta. All right, so here's Gogeta. We got to review him quickly because he's about to lose. His stats are decent. They're not bad, but his passive is what makes him really good. You can pause and read all that if you want, but yeah, basically he's pretty good. He works well with Z fighters, so he's still a very good unit, but he's a lot more expensive and a lot more reliant on your team. However, he's still very, very good. And he's super easy to get, so that's a plus. He's still meta. I really can't convince putting him over Aizen or D. Maybe like that. I don't know. He's going to be somewhere within like this range. He's definitely better than Virtual Sniper and Falcon of Darkness. So he's going to be somewhere between this range. Next, we have King Ant, who I don't have evoed yet. He's the only one from the new update I do not have evoed, so we'll have to take a look at what he can do. Okay, so after doing some research, nobody has posted him with his buff. He was terrible without the buff, so I'm not too sure. I'm going to see what they did. They buffed him and changed his passive, so I assume it's going to be somewhere around Igris. That's where I'll put him. But pre-buff, he was by far, other than the Dancer, he was the worst. I mean, he's the hardest unit to get by far in the update, and he was the worst. Let's be honest. And by the way, with that update, Sung Jin Woo is the easiest to get. He's the best unit in the game. So hopefully Beru is better now. Correct me if you in the comments have him and have him evoed. Let me know how good he is, and leave his passive if you don't mind, because I'm not sure many people are going to be able to like see it, because I couldn't find anything on it, and yeah, don't know if he's worth evoing because his last evo was trash. So I'm going to assume he's somewhere around Igris, though. Next, we have Pink Sniper. Okay, so Pink Sniper, a lot of you should be familiar. Her damage numbers are insane. You can pause and read the passive. Just know she does a whole lot of damage, and very quickly. She is still meta for sure. I probably... yeah, just because of how cheap she is, I think she has to go ahead of Griffith. Griffith, very good as well. Now, this Griffith I don't have, but he is practically essential. He buffs your entire team. He is the best buff in the game. He's kind of replaced everyone there at that point. But now we have Cell. Okay, so we have Perfect Android here. Now, this is a unit that I think either got secretly buffed, or maybe I don't understand how his passive works. But as you can see, his damage is insane, his HP is insane, and he doesn't die. And his numbers are insane. You can pause and read the passive here. He does a lot. I swear he got buffed because his damage was not this high. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I just didn't use him right. And see, we have an ability here. Now watch. Everything dead. Now, he dies too, but then you can just summon another one right away, right? So, yeah, very, very strong. One of the best units in the game, for sure. So he's going to go in meta. I'll put him above Pink Sniper because that nuke is very helpful. Next, we have Skeleton Knight. All right, now we have Skeleton Knight. He's very, very expensive, by the way. This is him at level 50 with very mid stats, as you can see. Yeah, I don't like that he's a cone, but other than that, his damage is really good. Well, his damage isn't that good, but he's a pretty good tank, and he doesn't die, and you can read his passive. Basically, again, he doesn't die. And then when he gets 10 Judgment, it basically gives a shield to your teammate. So he's kind of, he's a tank and a support. He's pretty good, though. So for Skeleton Knight, I'm going to put him probably just ahead of Akuma. He's very good, but yeah, there's probably a little bit better options. Next, we have Boros. Boros is probably the second best unit in the game. I don't see how anyone can beat Sung Jin Woo. Now, keep in mind, I don't have Boros, so I could be wrong. Boros might still be better, but I just don't see how anyone could be better than Sung Jin Woo. But yeah, he's definitely top 2. So these two are by far the 2 best units in the game. Next, we have Speedster. Don't have, but he's a decent unit. I'd probably put him like just above Virtual Sniper. Next, we have Prodigy Ascendant. Okay, so Gohan's incredibly cheap, and you can see his stats here. Oh boy, is he incredibly good. You can pause and read the passive, but basically don't run him with a Z fighter and you're good. So yeah, and not many of them are that good in the first place. So it's pretty easy to not run him with that. He's incredibly good. One of the best units in the game still, hands down. You can debate him or Griffith. I'm going to put him behind Griffith just because Griffith's support is incredible, but Gohan is incredibly good. Next, we have Kirito, who I do have, but I'm going to be honest, I don't have him up. He's a pretty decent tank, but I wouldn't put him, like, to... he's definitely higher than that, though. I don't know. It's honestly tough. He maybe just above Akuma. I think he's a little overrated as a unit. All right, he could go in this range. Anywhere up to Cell to behind Akuma. We're just going to leave him there for now. Next, we have Omega Shenron, who is still meta. I do not have him, though, so unfortunately, I cannot show you him. Still very good. Next, we have Eto. All right, so we have Eto here. As you can see, the range is massive. Stats are still incredible with an ultimate. You can pause and read this here if you want. She's an incredible unit, for sure. One of the best units in the game, hands down. Definitely not better than Gohan, but I would put her right behind Gohan because she's still incredible. Next, we have Gogeta, who is also an incredible unit. Now, he can maybe rank above Eto, but I still have Eto, but Eto's so good. Next, we have Blood Queen, who is just going to move down to mid and outdated. She's basically Unohana again, just slightly worse. As well as, I'm also going to put Yuta in mid and outdated. Her damage doesn't really stack up as much anymore, especially with how supports are now. Griffith's the only exception where they don't really do a lot of damage, but like Skeleton Knight does a ton of damage. And her buff isn't that needed anymore. I'm going to be honest. He's not bad, though, but yeah, definitely not worth running. Next, we have Jackpot, who's also mid. He's a decent DPS. And then Almighty, who's also mid. He's a decent tank. But that's going to do it for this tier list. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. If you don't enjoy the content, you can always unsubscribe. As well, I have my Discord in the description. Once we hit 50 members, we will be doing a viewer-based video, which means you guys get to be in the video. And I have my Twitch and second channel in the description if you want to hear and see more of me. With that being said, thank you for watching. Hope you all had an amazing day.